Good afternoon, welcome back. Hello, how are you doing today? I'm doing well, thank you. I am happy, I think. Yeah, so let's dive into another subject, another conversation. How to process emotions. When I first heard about this subject, I got a little bit worried because I was like, what do you mean process emotions? Like, do I not process my emotions? And I got a little bit worried. And I was like, how do you process emotions? So there was this guy on YouTube, I was listening to him and he was like, oh, men don't process their emotions, so then they suffer. And I'm like, well, I suffer all the time. Does that mean that I don't process my emotions? And I just got a bit worried. So then I was just like Googling, what does it mean to process emotions? Because I didn't know what they were talking about. Anyway, it turns out that Google, your best friend, advised and said that processes emotions is basically to talk about things, to talk through emotions. I was like, oh, well, I do that all the time. But that's what the point that the guy was making in the video is that men, apparently, they never do this. Like, it's quite normal for women to talk to their friends about how they feel, or talk to anybody really about how they feel. I feel like this, I feel like that. And men, apparently, and I say apparently because I'm not a man, and number two, me and my son, who's a boy, we talk about our feelings all the time. And maybe this is new and I wasn't really, and all of my boyfriends that I've had in the past, I 100% talk about their feelings with me. So I didn't really gauge this, that this was a problem in the male world, that men don't actually talk about their emotions or how they're feeling or how they think about this and how does that make them feel. And apparently this is very normal to women, which it is, and to men it's not. And I was like, oh god, that must be like terrible not to talk about how you're feeling. Anyway, these men are standing up to these things now and they're talking about it with each other and saying that this is not right, this leads to, a horrible life, and this is why men are and we need to start talking about how we feel. And I was like, oh wow, like I'm all up for that, supporting that type of thing, especially because I'm definitely doing something different with my son than what's the usual in this world. But I was still there thinking, oh gosh, do I process my emotions? And I'm there googling whatever and I've got the answer. And this guy in the video was saying that his dad, before he learned to process his emotions, his dad would have these like anger outbursts. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I went through a stage of my life where like literally everything would make me flip out. Like, I remember one time, my son said he doesn't remember this, but I don't know if he's just being nice, but I remember one time the KFC people, they delivered the order.
Oh no!
And then he drove away, and then when I opened the bag, it wasn't what I had ordered. It was like somebody else's order, and I swear it was like, oops, the worst thing had happened, because I just lost my head. Like, I was screaming to nobody because nobody was there apart from my son. I was screaming, I was so mad. I was like, I didn't order this. And I remember there was a few of those moments in where like something really inconvenient happened and it just was like the worst thing in the world, and I would just like flip out like so bad. Anyway, and I was like, well, does that mean that I wasn't processing my emotions? Because this guy was saying that his dad was having these anger outbursts because he didn't know how to process his emotions. So then I just like got reading on like emotions and why people have anger and stuff like that, because I certainly have anger. And it really does come down to what I'm going to talk about today, and the reason why I think it's important to talk about this today, because it really does come down to having somebody to speak to. And I think at that time when I was flipping out at the KFC and I was flipping out this and that, I actually had nobody to talk to. And I know that like, it might sound like I'm exaggerating, like, oh Nayna, but you had like two people to talk to. Like, literally the only person at that point was my son, and he was the only one. And because he's a child, he doesn't really know how to help me process my mind. Like, all of the relationships in my life had broken down at that point. My relationship with my family was like really not great, and I literally was speaking to nobody. And so then I was like, oh, so because I talk to myself a lot, I thought that was enough. Like, I go into my room and I look at myself in the mirror and I'm like, hello there. Okay, I don't say hello there, but I'll talk out loud to myself a lot. And I've actually been doing it since I was a little girl, so to me it's quite normal. And when somebody used to say like, oh, the first sign of madness is when you start speaking to yourself, I was like, oh god. So then I've been crazy for a long time, because I've literally been doing it since I was a kid. Like, I'll go into my room, I close the door and I start speaking to myself, right? So I was still doing this, and not so often actually, because I used to do it like every day. And whereas this point in my life where it was quite a dark time, I was probably talking to myself maybe like once a week, like out loud and stuff. So maybe I wasn't doing that often enough, but I thought that was enough. I'm still speaking, I'm still talking about how I'm feeling, but there is something about somebody else being a listening ear and somebody else having something to say, somebody else having something to say, and I'll keep repeating the same line, but having something to say about how you're feeling. And if that person is supportive, or better yet, they know how to advise you, so then you are better than how they, before they came to you, you're better when they left you. That is a valuable thing that I didn't really understand at the time. And I think that this is what people mean by processing their emotions. So it's not just about, oh, I talk to myself and I'm like, fine. It's about having somebody else to speak to, where they have some type of input and some type of, what do I call that? I did just say input. Some type of, I don't know what to call that, but basically they're getting involved and they have something to say, and what they say helps you, right? I really understood when I was like looking at all of this, that it really is important to have that support from the outside world, not just from yourself. Because me over here, I think that I am some type of scientist where I can survive by myself. I literally just shot a music video all by myself. I'm gonna see how it turns out because I've not started editing it yet, so it might be like completely bad, but here I am feeling like I'm a self-sufficient god. Sorry to use the word god because some people get upset about that, but I'm really starting to understand that having a second person with you to listen to you, to be engaged, to be involved in the conversation is so important to processing emotions. Anyway, and then so then here I am, because I'm so black and white, right? And I'm like, yeah, but what are emotions? So there I am googling what are emotions. I don't know why I do this all the time. Like I google the most like simplest questions, because it's like, no, but what is that? I googled what are emotions. And so then Google told me, and obviously I think I know a little bit about emotions, obviously, because I talk about emotions all the time, but I just don't really label everything. But basically I feel like emotions, and what Google is saying, so emotions just says how you feel. I don't know what I just said there. Emotions is how you feel. So all of the different feelings that you might feel in your body, those are emotions. I know somebody might argue and say, no, emotions are these specific feelings. I don't know. But to me, emotions is how you feel. So do I feel happy? Do I feel sad? Do I feel excited? Do I feel angry? Do I feel excited? Did I already say that one? Do I feel sexual? Do I feel, I don't know, like I just feel like there's so many different emotions, and basically emotions is how you feel. And if you don't talk about your emotions, meaning you don't let it out with words to somebody else who can perceive them, who can receive them, for some reason this makes the human not function properly. So it's like we're made to be involved with others, like we're made to share ourselves with others, because I feel like this is sharing ourselves. So I paused there because I'm like, is that what we're doing? Are we sharing ourselves? But 100% we're sharing ourselves, and this seems to be a vital part of surviving, like to share ourselves with others. And because I know that there's also sharing our skills with others, so we're sharing our skills, we're sharing our bodies, we're sharing our abilities, we're sharing our creativity, but also how we experience life inside of ourselves. If we don't share that with others, it's like the body starts to malfunction. It's like we have to share not only our skills and our ability and our bodies, but we have to share our experiences so others are involved in that. And if we don't do that, we start to malfunction. But my malfunction looked like a lot of people's malfunctions, where literally you're angry, you're very short-tempered, and you barely smile. Oh no. Okay, it's not that I barely smile, but I did barely smile, but I still smiled because like I have these little moments with myself where I think that I'm a comedian, and so then like I've made myself laugh all the time. But when I wasn't doing the comedian head, there's a mosquito here and he's like going a bit crazy. You know what? Somebody should, and maybe it's already existing, somebody should create a mosquito catcher so you don't need to kill them. You could just catch them and then put them out the window and say, ha, you're not eating me today. We should totally do that, because like who wants to go killing somebody's dad or somebody's mum? Like I don't want to go killing them, but I also don't want them in my house. So then instead of having this cup and paper situation, we should just have a mosquito catcher. And actually we can just catch anything with it, like bees, you know, when the wasps come in your house and you're like, but they're more clever, whereas mosquitoes, they want to stay in your house. I don't know, he's gone on the table, I feel like he's gonna bite my feet. So Yeah, mosquitoes, they want to stay because obviously they want to get close to you so then they can, I don't know why they want my blood. I can't bother to Google that either. Like, why do they have blood? Is there something else that they can eat apart from blood? Anyways, we should have to catch something that is like really clever, like something big that catches them and then closes them in there, you know, because like you don't want something small where it's like really difficult to catch them. You want something that's quite big so it's like you're guaranteed to catch them, and something that's cheap. Like we need to make things cheap, available, and that works. You know what, living most of my life in this like working class environment where you have to budget, so you have to try and buy things cheap, I'm really seeing how cheap things are really just annoying. Like they're just not good. Oh my gosh, I've totally digressed. What? I totally went a different way there, right? So back to processing emotions. So then it brings me back to the subject of having a therapist, which I think that everybody needs to have a therapist. Why? Because everybody needs help to process their thoughts, to process how they're feeling. Even if they're happy, it's nice to be able to process. And actually, I guess when we're happy, we're naturally like process things anyway, because we tell people about the good things that are happening, so then we're like telling people. And there's this really important thing that I'm looking at and I'm seeing, that it's important that we tell people about our experiences, otherwise we become stuck. And I don't think we're supposed to be stuck and closed, otherwise we become impatient and we become angry and we become not pleasant to be around. And let's be honest, people who are sharp in terms of like they're impatient, people who are not smiley, people who are look like they can lose their temper very quickly, they are not enjoyable to be around. And actually we try to escape those people. So if you are one of those people, which at one point I was, you have a choice to change. But we don't know about this because obviously I'm here learning for the first time that I have to process my emotions, otherwise I become like a non-functioning human. So then I have to like talk to people, and obviously I don't have a lot of people to talk to, so that's the problem. Anyways, but this is why we need to be able to have therapy available to every single person. So we need to make more people, we need to make to be a therapist easier, to have it widely available for people to study, so then half of us become therapists and then the other half don't. So then 4 billion people should become therapists, so then we can have people to speak to where they not only are a listening ear, but they can engage in a way that is helpful, which I think that's so important. You know, when somebody has something that helps you, they say something that helps you, they know how to help you, and they say it and they give it to you, and it's like, oh my gosh, that's so helpful. That's the type of engagement that we need in life. And when we have that, we experience the opposite of an emotional breakdown. We experience a balanced life where we are calm and we are happy, and the opposite is like not calm and not happy, which is a horrible state to be in. So I feel like, to round up this subject, is that like we are made up of all of these different emotions, and we should make the best out of them. And to make the best out of them is to understand them, to understand the place it has in different areas. Like for example, happiness makes the world such a better place. Anger makes some people uncomfortable, some people scared, and actually it's my only friend sometimes where somebody's trying to take the piss at me and my anger just won't have it. Like anybody who tries to attack me, my anger won't have it, and it's like it's my only bodyguard, right? So if we could understand all of these emotions and the place that they have in society and how we can best utilize them, then we'd be thriving, right? And we can do that by having conversations, by talking to people. So what do you think about this emotion? What do you think about emotion? And these therapists that, or people who have something helpful to say, it could just be a friend, then they have more experience than you, or you might have more experience than them with this emotion. And if you guys talk about it, then you're exchanging ideas, you're exchanging information that is helpful. And I feel like we need to do more of that, so then we can have better and richer knowledge about emotion and how to use them and how to process them. And I don't want to get confusing here, because when I say process them, I'm literally talking about them and then having somebody engage with you in a conversation that is helpful to your brain, so then you're clearer about what you're experiencing and why you're experiencing it. And then somebody else validates that experience by saying, yes, me too, or yes, da-da-da, or yes, da-da-da, or no, da-da-da. And then you have help outside of you with your experience. Anyways, yes, my last video was like really like, I don't know what I was talking about. I know I was talking about jealousy, but this video seems to be a bit more clearer. So yes, let's help each other process our emotions by speaking about them, by being helpful about them, and actually by celebrating all of the emotions that make life rich. For example, happiness, excitement, sexuality. I don't know what type of emotion that is. Is it like some type of a desire? I don't know. That's a good one. And then we could just celebrate all of these feelings that we have and then share them with each other. And then we can share our brains by being helpful to one another through conversation. Okay, all right, that's me. I'm done. Thank you so much for listening if you have. And I shall see you next time. All right, goodbye.